Before he was a movie star, he was a boxer. Before that, a lumberjack. One actor on this list stitched his own face with fishing line. Another, he trained with convicts just to play one. And number 4, you'll never forget what he did in a bar full of racists. Ernest Borgnine's Navy boxing brawls. Before he ever won an Oscar, Borgnine was just another tough kid from Connecticut who liked a good fight. He joined the U.S. Navy in 1935 at age 18 and stayed in through World War II. That's 10 straight years. No movie sets, no cameras, just steel decks, grease, and fists. He boxed on the ship to blow off steam. Navy matches weren't gentle. No headgear, no rules. Just 2 guys swinging until one dropped. Borgnine didn't drop often. He wasn't flashy. He was strong, stocky, and knew how to take a hit. By the time the war ended, he had cauliflower ears, a busted nose, and a grin that said, "Try me." After the Navy, he wasn't sure what came next. A friend suggested acting. He laughed it off. But he gave it a shot and enrolled in drama school using the GI Bill. They taught him Shakespeare. He still sounded like a guy who just climbed out of an engine room. That didn't matter. He started landing small roles, then came From Here to Eternity in 1953. He played a mean sergeant who beat up Frank Sinatra. Critics said it felt too real. That's because it kind of was. He wasn't faking that snarl. He'd seen worse fights in mess halls. 2 years later, he flipped the script. In Marty, he played a shy, lonely butcher. No punches, no yelling, just heart. And he won Best Actor. People were stunned. The Navy brawler had range. Still, he never got soft. Even in his 70s, Borgnine kept up with younger actors, did his own physical scenes, and never missed a day on set. He credited that to his Navy years. "The sea teaches you discipline," he once said, "and how to knock someone down if they get in your way." Bert Lancaster's Trapeze Falls. He didn't learn to fall in film school. He learned it 40 feet above a hard floor, flying barehanded through the air in a circus act called Lang and Cravat. He didn't just train for fun. He performed in traveling circuses and vaudeville shows, doing high-flying tricks 40 feet above hard floors. Safety nets weren't always part of the act. When something went wrong, you didn't get a second take. You got bruises or broken bones, and Lancaster had both. He was drafted into the Army during World War II. Even then, he didn't stop. He performed with the Army Special Services Unit, entertaining troops with acrobatics and comedy sketches. Soldiers loved it. They knew the guy wasn't faking a thing. After the war, he walked into Hollywood already tougher than most stuntmen. His first film, The Killers, 1946, showed off his intensity. Directors quickly figured out he could fall, fight, climb, and flip without flinching. No stunt double needed. In The Crimson Pirate, 1952, he swung across ships, jumped into the sea, and did every acrobatic stunt himself. He trained every day. Even when roles got dramatic, he stayed in top shape. He once said, "A punch looks fake unless you've taken a real one." He had, many, and it showed. In The Train 1964, he did a real sprint across moving train cars. One slip, and it would have been over. He didn't miss. The crew held their breath. Lancaster laughed afterward and asked for another take. No green screens, just guts. He didn't brag. He just kept showing up and doing the hard stuff himself. Directors gave him risky scenes because they knew he wouldn't fake it. That circus life taught him balance, focus, and how to stay cool when the ground disappeared. Years later, younger actors asked him how he stayed so steady. He just smiled and said, "Don't look down." James Coburn's bone-crushing arthritis. He had the voice, the swagger, and the stare. But behind all that, he was in constant pain. In the 1970s, he was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. It's not just sore joints, but a full-body attack. Fingers twisted, knees stiffened, and the pain didn't stop. By the mid-80s, he could barely walk. His hands looked gnarled. He stopped taking roles, not because he wanted to, because he couldn't hold a prop gun without shaking. The guy who played deadly gunslingers in The Magnificent Seven and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid was stuck at home, fighting to get out of bed. Most actors would have quit, not Coburn. He tried every treatment he could find, steroids, special diets, nothing worked. Then in the early 90s, he found relief through a supplement called MSM. He claimed it gave him back control of his body. Was it a cure? No, but it was enough. He didn't ease back into soft roles. He returned full force, one of his first comebacks. Maverick 1994, where he squared off with James Garner on horseback. He wasn't doing it for the paycheck. He just wanted to move again. Move like he used to. Then came Affliction 1997. Coburn played a broken, abusive father. A hard role emotionally and physically. He delivered it cold and raw. That performance won him an Oscar at 70. He hobbled up the stairs, held the trophy with hands that barely opened, and gave a short thank you. No tears, just grit. He wasn't loud about the pain. He didn't complain. When someone once asked how bad it really was, he answered, "Every step hurts, so I keep stepping." Even off camera, he stayed sharp, practiced martial arts, lifted light weights, kept moving even when his joints said, "Stop." Woody Strode's barroom justice. He was a real-deal powerhouse long before Hollywood came calling. He played football at UCLA in the 1930s, one of the first black players in major college football. During World War II, he served in the Army Air Corps. After the war, he wrestled professionally. Not the flashy kind, the bloody kind. He didn't start acting until his 40s. By then, he was already carved out of granite. Directors didn't have to ask if he could handle action scenes. He'd been in worse. In 1960, Strode was cast in Spartacus, playing the title character's rival gladiator. It was one of the biggest movies of the decade, shot partly in Italy. Off-set, things got tense. One night, he walked into a bar in Rome and saw a white American crew member harassing a young black extra, loud, ugly, and getting physical. Nobody moved. Nobody said anything. Except Strode. He walked straight over, didn't say a word, and cracked a bottle across the guy's face. Clean hit. Fast. Security rushed in. The crew guy hit the floor. The bar fell silent. Strode was arrested that night, not for the first time, not for the last, but this one mattered. Kirk Douglas, who was producing and starring in Spartacus, personally paid his bail. The next day, that crew member was gone. Fired. Strode went back to set and finished the scene like nothing happened. He later said he did what needed doing. That was it. This wasn't a one-off. He stood up for himself and others more than once. In an industry that sidelined black actors or forced them into jokes, he refused. When he got roles in Sergeant Rutledge and The Professionals, he played serious men, fighters, soldiers, not sidekicks. He didn't play tough. He lived it. He spoke with quiet authority. He carried himself like someone who'd been tested and didn't need to prove it again. That night in Rome didn't become a headline, but on set, everyone knew. You didn't mess with Woody, you didn't cross a line, and if you did, you'd get more than a warning. Yafett Kado's real-life de-escalation. He didn't have to yell to be intimidating. He had a stare that stopped conversations and a voice that sounded like it belonged in a war room. He brought that energy to roles in Alien, Live and Let Die, and Homicide, Life on the Street. But one of his toughest moments happened off camera. It was the early 1970s. Kado was filming a gritty crime show in Harlem. The set looked real, too real. Actors dressed as dealers, props made to look like drugs, cops with fake badges. And in walked the real NYPD. They thought it was a real bust, guns out, no warnings. Some of the actors froze. Some tried to explain. It didn't matter. The tension hit the ceiling in seconds. Then Kado stepped in. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't panic. He calmly walked toward the lead officer, hands visible, and explained what was happening. He stayed steady, even with real guns pointed at him. His calm spread to everyone around him. Eventually, the officers stood down. No one was hurt. No shots fired. The real police left, and the shoot continued. That wasn't the only time Kado handled chaos. During productions, he was known for keeping his cool when tempers flared. When crew members argued or extras got rowdy, he'd walk over, say a few words, and it was handled. No drama, no threats, just presence. He grew up in the Bronx. He knew how to read a room fast. He once said, "You don't survive by yelling, you survive by staying sharp." And he was sharp. He refused to play stereotypes, turned down roles that made black men look like jokes, chose scripts that gave him depth, even if they paid less. He didn't run on ego, he ran on principle. When he played Lieutenant Gardello on Homicide, he rewrote parts of the dialogue to sound more real. Producers let him, they knew he wasn't doing it for show. Fred Ward's oil rig injuries. He never looked like a Hollywood guy. That's because he wasn't one, at least not at first. He was a boxer, a cook, and a lumberjack before he ever stood in front of a camera. And somewhere in between all that, he worked on oil rigs in Alaska. It wasn't glamorous. It was cold, rough, and full of hazards. Ward once got hit across the face with a swinging chain. No doctor nearby, no ambulance, so he pulled out fishing line and stitched his own wound. Went back to work the next morning. Didn't tell anyone. That story followed him when he hit Hollywood. In the late 70s, he started landing roles in tough guy films. Not because he looked pretty, but because he looked like someone who'd actually been punched in the face. In Escape from Alcatraz 1979, he played one of the real-life inmates who busted out of the prison. He didn't just act gritty. He brought that oil rig edge to every scene. No whining, no hesitations, just work. In the early 80s, he trained with actual military advisors for Southern comfort, crawling through swamps and carrying gear in waist-high water. He didn't ask for shortcuts. He volunteered to carry the heaviest load. His breakout came with Remo Williams. The adventure begins in 1985. He did many of his own stunts, including wire jumps, rooftop chases, and hand-to-hand fights. One misstep during training left him with a torn ligament. He wrapped it, kept going, and finished the shoot. He didn't chase fame, he chased characters that made sense for who he was. Blue-collar, hard-headed, no nonsense. In Tremors, he played a handyman fighting underground monsters with a broken pickup and duct tape. That wasn't acting. That was Fred being Fred. He once said, "Acting's not about pretending to be tough. It's about not pretending at all." Steve McQueen's Le Mans crashes. He didn't fake speed, he lived it. By the time he shot Le Mans in 1970, he wasn't just a movie star. He was a competitive race car driver with track records and scars to prove it. He wanted Le Mans to feel real. No green screens, no stuntmen, just real cars, real tracks, and real danger. The film crew shut down actual race courses in France. McQueen drove a Porsche 917, the same one that hit over 200 miles per hour during the 24 hours of Le Mans. Things went wrong fast. During one test run, he lost control and spun out. The car slammed into a barrier, cracking the front frame. He walked away, checked the tire pressure, and got back in. Another day, he clipped a wall in wet conditions. The team wanted to bench him. He told them to fix the car and keep rolling. He crashed 3 different times during filming. Never once blamed the equipment. Said the track just wanted a little blood. McQueen didn't just race in movies. He entered the 12 Hours of Sebring in 1970 with a broken left foot. Drove on it for 6 hours. Finished second overall. That was months before Le Mans even started shooting. In Bullet, he did the famous San Francisco chase himself. The studio told him to slow it down. He sped it up. The Mustang flew over hills, bounced into corners, and burned rubber hard enough to blow 2 tires mid-shot. His crew called him reckless. He called it committed. He practiced motorcycle stunts between takes, even trained with professional racers in the Mojave Desert. In The Great Escape, he tried to do the famous barbed wire jump himself. Insurance blocked it. He helped the stuntman do it instead, then snuck off and did a few illegal jumps just for fun. McQueen didn't care about being liked. He cared about doing it real. No tricks, no padding, just torque, sweat, and bruises. He once said, "Racing is life. Everything before or after is just waiting." Robert Duval's Jungle Helicopter Panic. By 1979, Duval was already respected, but Apocalypse Now would turn him into something else entirely iconic. He played Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore, a surfing-obsessed commander with a 1,000-yard stare. The shoot was chaos. Jungle heat, delays, actual explosions, and one very close call. One day, the cast was filming near Baler, Philippines. They were using real Vietnam-era helicopters, no CGI. The machines were old and glitchy. During a break, Duval boarded a chopper with some crew to scope out the next shot location. Mid-air, the hydraulic system failed. The pilot lost partial control. The nose tilted. Trees came close. Real close. One blade clipped a branch. No warning, no instructions, just fast thinking. The pilot managed to land hard but safe in a nearby field. The crew panicked. Duval didn't. He stepped out, grabbed a water bottle, and sat in the grass. Didn't say much, just waited for a ride back to set. Later that day, he filmed the line, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." Straight-faced, no retakes. That kind of calm defined his whole career. In The Godfather, he played Tom Hagen with that same quiet control. In Lonesome Dove, he did his own horsework. One horse threw him. He got up, reset, and asked for a tighter camera angle. He didn't play the hero much. He didn't need to. He played men who felt real, steady, unshaken, and dangerously collected. On The Apostle, he directed himself, drove the shoot forward, and worked through triple-digit temperatures without complaint. The crew said he was the first one on set, last to leave, even in his 60s. When asked how he kept his cool in tough moments, Duval said, "Don't push it, just stay present." That was his whole approach. No panic, no noise. Gene Hackman's bike crash at 82. He was never the kind of actor who relied on looks or charm. He built his career on intensity and realism. Played cops, generals, loners, and the guy who always looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. But even at 82, he still surprised people. In January 2012, Hackman was riding his bicycle down a Florida road when he got hit by a car. Not clipped, hit. Thrown off the bike, landed hard on the pavement. The woman driving the car stopped, shocked. An ambulance was called. Most people at that age wouldn't walk again. Hackman got up before paramedics arrived. He was taken to the ER, checked out, bandaged, and released the same day. No broken bones, no drama. He walked out of the hospital under his own power and didn't want to talk about it. Just a few days later, he did voiceover work for a commercial. No delay, no excuses. When reporters finally asked him about the crash, he just said, "Wrong place, wrong time." That was it. Hackman has always been that way. No fuss, no showboating. During his career, he clashed with directors, refused to soften performances, and gave 100% even if the movie didn't deserve it. In The French Connection, he ran through live New York traffic during chase scenes, nearly got hit twice, didn't flinch. In Unforgiven, he played a sheriff so violent and layered that critics called it one of the best performances of the 90s. Hackman later said he drew that character from real people he'd known in the Marines and on construction jobs. He retired from acting in 2004, but he never stopped living hard. Still bikes, still works, still doesn't give interviews unless he feels like it. There's a reason directors called him difficult. He didn't play the game. He showed up, did the work, and left. And if you tried to fake your way through a scene, he let you know. Tom Hardy's self-fixed dislocation. He didn't ease into acting. He bulldozed his way in. Started with small roles in war films and British television. But it was Bronson in 2008 that changed everything. He played real-life prisoner Charles Bronson and didn't just act the part. He lived like the guy. Hardy trained with ex-cons, gained over 40 pounds of muscle, ate chicken and rice 5 times a day, hit the gym twice daily, slept 3 hours some nights because the training messed with his body clock. He said he needed to go a little mad to do it right. Then came Warrior in 2011. He played an MMA fighter, brutal, controlled, and wired tight. During shooting, he tore ligaments in his shoulder and cracked 2 ribs. One scene, his arm popped out of place. He slammed it against a steel locker, popped it back in, and kept rolling. No complaints, no delay, just asked if the take was usable. He didn't want to look tough. He wanted to be believable, and he knew bruises came with the job. On The Revenant, he shot in freezing Canada with actual snowstorms and sub-zero winds. No heated trailers, no body doubles. He let his beard ice over during scenes and punched Leonardo DiCaprio for real in one take. DiCaprio confirmed it later, said Hardy doesn't fake anything. Off camera, he's no stranger to chaos. Hardy has spoken openly about past addiction, arrests, and rehab. Clean now, he channels that old energy into work. Doesn't mess around. Doesn't repeat takes unless absolutely needed. In Mad Max, Fury Road, he fought stunt guys on moving rigs, filmed inside real sandstorms, and once dislocated his pinky mid-scene. He taped it up with gaffer's tape and finished the day. He once said, "Pain is just information. You use it or ignore it." That sums him up.